Hello, my friends, and welcome to Where Wendy Creates. Today we are making this beautiful king-size Christmas quilt. Okay, so I want to make another Christmas quilt using the panel that I have. Plus, I have this Hoffman Jingle Pop from Hancock's of Paducah fabric. Thought I'd use some gray, some red, and maybe match these colors together. I love making raw edge applique, and I have a couple of them that I've found that I made a long time ago, and I thought we'd go ahead and make a Christmas quilt. Today we're using a jelly roll of Christmas fabrics that I got at Hancock's of Paducah, and got to make sure we have the right thread color. We're matching them together, putting two together, and we're going to start making 4 patches. So let's sew. And once we have our strips done, we are going to put them in the piles. And notice I'm doing 2 at a time. And now that side is red, I'm going to turn it green. That way when it's in my hands, it's that much easier to go ahead, flip over, and match. So every 2 goes catty corner to the opposite. And I'm laying out the next 4 to be cut, and I'm putting the selvage on top of the selvage, giving it approximately a 1/2 inch, then lining it up on the line up top to make sure each one is in order. Two and a 1/2 inches lined up on 2 sides, and we'll go through this stack. Okay, we've separated our colors into our stacks, and we are putting them together, and we're just matching our seams up to where they're going perfectly together, and then stitching across. And I'm chain stitching these 4 patches, block after block after block. Then we'll cut them apart and press them open. This is fun. It's kind of like a cook making candy. It's so pretty. It's so yummy. So many different colors. Such small, perfectly pressed pieces. stacked our blocks that we're putting together into our 4 patches, all of the 2 same color, 2 this way, 2 that way, 2 this way, 2 that way, to make them all easy when we sit down at the sewing machine to sew them through. Just love these beautiful Christmas fabrics. Beautiful. We have 2 different fabrics, the same width, 5 inches across. However, they have 2 different lengths. One was with the fabric. One had been cut off sideways to make our beautiful side structures on our Christmas quilt. So what we're doing is sewing these 2 different lengths of fabric together so we can create a beautiful 4 patch. And I think these 2 colors blend so well together. What do you think? Hit that comment button right now, my friends. I want to hear from you. Know that you're there. Know that you're paying attention and watching. And if you're not paying attention, I want to know what you're doing. Am I in the background while you're having tea? Am I in the background while you are sewing? What project are you working on? I'm curious. All right, so we have our strips sewn together. Let's take them over to the ironing board, press them, then we'll be cutting them into 5-inch strips the opposite direction to make our 4 patches. All right, now we're at the cutting table, but because our fabrics were different length and we sewed them all together, we're going to have to be careful on our 5-inch marks, and we'll have possibly just a little bit more left over for the scrap pile than we had desired, because see, this is not enough for my 5-inch square, so I'm going to have to pull it past that and then continue. So we'll bring it over here, chop it off, and then do as many 5 inches as we can get out of the remaining portion. So this is going into our scrap bin. And we just make sure we have 2 lines lined up at the minimum. And look at that, 1, 2, 3 lines lined up. We just slice them off and continue. Measure twice, cut once. And this is too small for us, so this is going into our scrap bin as well for our next scrappy quilt, or we might use it in the border, the binding somehow, since again, we are having fun and playing with fabric today, making a Christmas quilt. So I'm very excited about that. So our stack of blocks are growing, and let's go ahead and trim the others. All right, and we are back in front of the sewing machine, and we are going to open up our blocks, and we are going to put them together. And I want you to lift them up, take that seam and press it together to where you're perfectly nesting. So let's do that again. I was off screen. And we're going to pick them up, put them straight together, and then press them together so they're perfectly nested. Hold on to that, and we're going to sew them straight through. And we're going to chain stitch all of these together. And then back to the ironing board where we'll make them pretty. So we're going to pick up 2 separate blocks, 5 inches across, and we're going to put the green to the red, the green to the red, put them together right where the seams go, and I want you to fold those together. That's called nesting. See that area right there? And we're going to hold that, bring these to the sewing machine, and put those 2 sides in. Never letting go of this until you can press it down and hold it. Make sure the other side is perfectly aligned up with your fabrics. Stitch it through and grab the next one. So these are fun, not funny, but fun. And I'm going to keep doing the entire stack until they are all done. Woohoo! So, my friends, when you sew, do you sing? I want to know. Hit that comment button and tell me, are you thinking when you sew? Do you just let your mind wander? Do you sing? Is it your happiest time? What do you do when you sew? To me, sometimes it's a complete detox and calming, and sometimes I want to sing, and sometimes I am just so focused on my blocks and my project and having fun with that that my mind is 100% absorbed on my sewing or in my crafting. Is that normal? What do you do? I am so curious. Don't we all kind of want to know if we do the same thing other people do or if we're so different? I'm curious. So let me know, and I'm going to keep sewing these together, and I will meet you in a few minutes because we're getting this baby done today. All right, so we turned our iron on. I'm on the cotton setting. So now I'm going to press my blocks. And we're going to press all of these, make sure they're nice and crisp and happy. And then we are going back over to the sewing table. Crazy, I know, but we have put all of our 4 patches down, and I'm thinking we might not make half square triangles with this quilt. This right here is just part of the upside down quilt that's underneath it. So I was thinking I'd put a row of, I'm so sorry about that. I was thinking I would put a row of this gray between the green and these pieces, and then I put another row of the gray to break up in between these pieces. And I am really happy with this. I think it's coming together faster than I thought. I was going to use more than just 4 patches in the quilt, but at this piece, I think, I think I'm just going to go with this with a couple of rows of gray here and there and use that beautiful piece that I done maybe 8, 9, 10 years ago and put it in the middle of this. And I am so excited. I think this is so gorgeous. And again, to break up this area right here in between putting those together, I thought I would put some of this gray in there. So what do you think? Hit the comments. I want to know your thoughts, and let's grab a row and go back to the sewing table. All right, now let's take all of our 4 patches that we made from that jelly roll and start linking them together into a row, and we are going to match their seams. Make sure our seams are in the correct direction, and we are not chain stitching these quite as much as we normally do because I am doing 2 rows. So every time I do one, I'm going to trim the thread and pull it back around to continue growing it. So we're doing 2 rows at a time, and we're going to keep these in order. Watching our seams as we go. And what I'm doing is I took the top row and the bottom row, and then I'll go in towards the center. And when I take these, I apologize, I was off camera. And gotta remember, I need to look through the camera so you can see what I'm seeing, and I'm matching my seams together. Sewing across, taking the one from the back and adding to it. Right sides together, nest our seams, and continue. Taking the one off the back. I know I started with a dark red, so we're adding to this side. See if I can back off just a little bit so you can see the overall look a little bit better. And then we're going to put the red, match our seams, and our blocks, and sew across. One from the back. And we're going to do this to all of the rows on the quilt. And I am really super excited about the way it looks. Hit that comment button. Let me know your thoughts. And we are going to attach the center with the sides together and then put it together with the rest of the quilt. So there is some measuring and some calculating that we still have to do, because again, we're not reading a pattern, we're creating one as it goes and seeing how beautiful they look. And it's always fun to like lay out your puzzle pieces to see how all these beautiful blocks lay together and how they're going to look. Move them around. Try not to get too many whites in one place, not too many greens in one place, and continue and continue. Okay, so we're doing on this side. Look at this beautiful gold. Oh, with the poinsettia. Did you know poinsettias first grew in Mexico? And Mr. Poinsett brought them back from Mexico. And a poinsettia can grow all year long. You don't have to throw them out and get a new one every year. So that, if you have a garden, love plants, might want to look into, because I think that is really fascinating. Not only do we decorate a pine tree out in the yard with some plastic bulbs each year, but we also have, from time to time, kept poinsettias and grow them. All right. And we're sewing rows together, matching up their seams. So here we have our row of 10. So they're looking really, really good in our rows. Very happy with those. And this one we're putting together. So the first two that we take off of the row is going to go together. And then our next two of the row go together. And our next two, oh, that's the end of that one. Okay. So this one goes on the end of this one. Sometimes you can do it when it's still there, and sometimes it's just easier to pull that thread out, cut it, and continue with the row. The quilt is looking real good. Let's pick up the next row to sew it across. There we go. And we have these three sewn up here. And make sure you press all of your rows prior to stitching them together. And let's go ahead and stack these blocks up, take them over to the sewing machine and get them put together. And it's time to iron our raw edge applique. So we're going to use the hot iron on the cotton setting with water or steam in it. Okay, it is time to put on our sides. So before we do the top and the bottom, I'm going to put our sides onto this center focal point. And we're going to line up our sides and put it right through the sewing machine. And we're matching up the bottom corner. Okay, now we're going to bring it out of the sewing machine, flip it around, and put the opposite side on. So we're going to line these corners up and sew it. All right, let's start making the rows, putting the rows together. Okay, so let's lay this piece back out where it was and grab our rows. We got to make sure our rows were okay with the placements. And somehow I got a lot more white and black blocks in here than I had remembered doing so. I even have some that line up kind of poorly. So I was wondering, 3 down at the other end, 2 down at the other end, 1 and 4 down at the other end. So I might switch this one with this last one. All right, so let's take these 2 rows and start sewing them together. Slowly down the entire row. And we are putting our 4 patch blocks together. So these are very, very happy perky blocks. We want to make sure our seams stay pointed the direction that we have previously pressed them. And you hear the long arm Gamble sewing machine in the background. We are quilting the top of a quilt. Hit that comment button if you would like to have more visuals or more tutorials on the long arm quilting process. I would be very happy to show you that if you're interested. And we are getting ready to put these onto the top of those. And we're sewing these 2 rows together. right. And now we get to play with this. Beautiful. So exciting, so exciting, so exciting. So match your corners up. I know you're working with a lot of bulk, but match your corners up. And then we're going to go ahead and stitch through it. Needle down. That way it's like an extra pair of fingers. You get help holding it together as you straighten it out on your table. Remove any obstacles that are in your way. I know, my friends. It's good to have scissors close by and seam rippers close by. But at the same time, if they're going to be in the way of you manipulating your quilt pieces to get them sewn together, it is time to move them out of the way. And now we have our 2.5 inch strip of gray to put around, and that is going to go in between these 2.5 inch or 2-inch squares and our big 5 inch or 4.5 inch squares. So let's add our gray. And it is time, my friends, to put this gray border all the way around the quilt. So let's grab one of our strips. And we're going to cut off the selvage on the top and go face down on our quilt. And we're going to have to be very careful with our seams to make sure that we are staying on track where we need to be and that the seams are in the correct direction. Like I preached earlier, make sure you have these things close at hand, but not on the table where they're going to get knocked off when you're manipulating your larger pieces. Right sides together. And you'll see me lift so that those ironed seams go in the correct direction. We will be putting this border on all 4 sides. And that helps break up the seams, give your eyes a rest between different kinds of blocks. And yes, it sounds strange, but it is important to give your eyes that rest in between different parts of your quilt, different kind of blocks. All right, so we are looking good. We've got our inner gray border on, so it's time to put it on the sewing machine, press out that border, and then we're going to match the sides up with it, and we will put them face to face and stitch on the first side, do the other side, and then we'll come down and put on the bottom border, and then, my friends, this gorgeous part. Very exciting. So we are at the sewing machine. We're going to take our right sides, put them together, line them up with our side, and stitch this whole long piece on. And we have our 4-patch blocks, the back of them up, and that's where most of our seams are going to be, because the gray part, we're not going to run into any seams. So sorry about that. And we are going to put these beauties together. And just as you go. And I am really loving this. I'm so excited that we found these pieces that I did not put in a previous quilt that I had made. And I think they are absolutely stunning in the center for the quilt. And it was a debate whether to put it up higher, in the middle, down lower. Let me know if you do the focal block kind of quilt and you're only using one panel or pano. Where do you usually put it? Top center? Center? Or how? I am very curious, would love to know how you put it together. So hit that comment button, let me know. And we are back at the iron. We're on the cotton setting. And we're getting our last couple of borders that we've already added pressed down before we put on the top and the bottom borders. We're going to remeasure everything, see how we're doing, and then decide whether we are going to have another border on the top and the bottom to give it a little bit more length. And now it's time to put our top and our bottom 4-patch on. larger a quilt gets, the more fun, or shall I say difficult, it is to have it all lay out right to make your stitching go quicker. So just take your time, have fun, and don't try to go too fast. Because it's the process, my friends, right? We may absolutely love the end product, but the process, I've got to say, the process is what really keeps me coming back to sewing. I love the smiles. I love it when I'm at a craft show and tell people to touch, feel, play. I love it when I get a phone call saying one of my quilts have sold. Paycheck isn't bad either. But I love, 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 love it when I see the final product. But it is the process that keeps me coming back again and again and again. My friends, it is confession time. When you make a boo-boo, you measure wrong, you do something wrong, look what I had to do. Look at this piece. Look what I had to do. So when you make a boo-boo, when you have to add a piece on or do something because seams don't match up, or you've got to use that seam ripper for a lot longer than you should on your normal project, let me ask you, what do you do? Well, I think you would find it absolutely hilarious here with me in my sewing room. Because can we name that tune? Okay, so it's not a tune, it's not a song, but it's a saying I heard in a movie that is very, very dear and fond to me. And I want to know if you know where this comes from. But when I catch myself messing up all too often, don't get frustrated. Don't get frustrated. Just say to yourself, if I only had a brain. Okay, hit comments. Where does that come from? If I only had a brain, my friends. If I only had a brain. So here we go. We are putting our 4-patch border on the last row of our quilt. And we are hoping this measurement was actually correct. Or else you will hear me say, usually offline, but why not share it? We're all human, right? If I only had a brain. Measure twice, cut once, and my friends, guess what? Guess what? Slow is accurate, and accurate is slow. How many times have you heard me say that? And yet still I have to prove, yes, indeed, I am human. I have threads everywhere that I have to cut off. And I measured my last border twice. And it was 2 inches too short, too long. So I trim off those 2 inches. And then guess what? I have to seam rip that entire side of the quilt or add back on 2.5 inches and hope nobody notices. So I added them back on, but we are going to go to the cutting board. Excuse me, hopefully not the cutting board. We are going to go to the ironing board after we get this side on and see if, yes, indeed, I do have to cut out an entire block and replace it. I am hoping not to, but you tell me what you do, what you say, how often do you make a blunder that is so obvious and so goofy and so, oh my goodness, how on earth did I do that? What did I measure to have it 2 inches too long and now it's 2 inches too short? Crazy. So what have you done lately? Make me feel better. Tell me a story. I want to hear from you. Hit that comment button. And my friends, if you are enjoying this quilt, if you are having fun, would you please, 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 please hit that share button, hit that comment button, hit that like button. If you like what you see, if you like what I'm doing, it does get passed to more viewers if you like, comment, subscribe, share, anything like that. Okay, I am thinking, oh my goodness, what did I do now? So this one is 3/4 of an inch too long. I got the wrong colors matching. So how many votes for the seam ripper and how many votes to leave it be and act like it belongs? Tough choice, right? Tough choice. I think it's seam ripper. Okay, see you in a minute. I'm so excited to announce, my friends, that we are now working on the final border. So exciting, exciting, exciting. Let's get this ready to go on to our beautiful quilt. And I'm holding the wrong end of it, so let me get the right end and we will get stitching. We're going to go across both sides and then we will take it across the bottom. Okay, so double check, double check, double check. Always make sure you're on the right sides, meaning the sides you expect to be, and then right sides together of the fabric. We'll sew it down and head on back over to the ironing board. Beautiful. Stretch it out again. Make sure you only have the 2 pieces that you want to be sewn anywhere near that needle. Again, when it gets to be bulky or you're trying to go fast, it can sometimes set you back. We don't want to be set back, right? All right, so people are asking me what kind of fabric this is. This is the Daisy Kingdom Yuletide by Kate McRosty Design Works Incorporated. Springs Global US. Okay, looks like it was a Joann's fabric. All right, and we can see the finish line, my friends. We can see the finish line. And for those of you that just got upset with me for saying Joann's fabric, do not. If you haven't heard, I have a video with all of the details, but Michael's has actually purchased, yes, Michael's Craft Store has actually purchased all rights to Joann fabrics, the name, the items, everything. So now if you need this, I have another tutorial coming up on the Michael's online shops, where they will have most of the fabrics. You may be able to find this there. But just to let you know that their stores are, most of them are going to have at least an aisle. Yes, that's 2 different sides of one aisle, so you're surrounded in fabric. Some Joann's are slated for more, and some Joann's, unfortunately, were too small for this round. But if they see us purchasing fabric in Michael's, and there's not a quilt store around, they may just get rid of or condense something that's not selling as well to add the fabric. So again, there is hope in our future. And yes, if you're thinking on purchasing or buying or starting a quilt store, a fabric store, let me know. I will spread the word because I will be so excited for you. And yes, quilt stores watching me, I will give you a shout out. Let me know, hit that comment button, and I will be happy to share your location, what you have, whatever you'd like me to share. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we have to unite. Us sewers, us quilters, us crafters who use fabric, us sewists and seamstress need to share our ideas as well as where we can shop. All right, coming up on the end of this side, and I have 3 more sides to finish, and then we will be revealing this beautiful quilt to you. Okay, so our quilt is finished, and now I'm going to lay it out for us to see and enjoy. I wanted to share my finished quilt with you, and I hope that you will enjoy it too. So let me see if I can get this flooped out for you to see. All right, my friends, so take a look at this beautiful finished king size quilt that we have put our beautiful piece in the center that we made years and years and years and years and years ago. And look how gorgeous. I am very, very happy with this quilt. Thank you so much for joining me, and we will see you again real soon with the next quilt.